Hello, welcome to Shaman Sister Sessions, episode 119, Resistance to Your Spiritual Initiation. I'm Katherine Bird. I'm here with Michelle Hawk, and we're excited to talk with you today about our spiritual initiations and how that, even maybe after you've had quite a few, there can be resistance and how we move through these processes of initiation over time. Hi, Michelle.
Hi. How's it going?
That's great. Things are great. So let's talk about what we mean about spiritual initiation, just in case people are wondering what that means.
Sure. We're going to give you like the mini version because we did also do another episode at some point on initiations on the spiritual path. I think might have been the title. But initiations in your spiritual path are activating experiences. They tend to go in cycles. It's very rarely just a singular event. Tends to be like I call them initiation cycles, right? Of a prolonged period of time where you're receiving inputs of information, activations, energetics, and frequencies that are bringing you into integrating and embodying a new frequency, like a new layer, either of your personal practice, your spiritual practice, your identity structure, right? We can have initiations in really any realm of our lives. When we're referring to spiritual initiations specifically, we're looking at activations, usually on the etheric plane, that then catalyze us into a different component of our identity and practice. And they ripple through, these initiations ripple through the layers, work through the etheric layer, through the mental, emotional layer, and then land in the physical body and the physical life until we sort of emerge as a different version of ourselves. So initiatory experiences are, when they're properly integrated, they are heralding transformation in some way. And when we're having initiations, we can look at it again through your spiritual practice, maybe in terms of a lineage, maybe in terms of a body of knowledge that is remembering in you, and you are remembering it, and you're collaborating with this body of knowledge, and maybe there's some outside inputs that are coming in. Maybe you're studying with a teacher and having initiatory experiences, and you're surrendering to the activations from these particular teachings. There's a lot of different ways this can manifest, but that's basically what we mean.
Yes.
The short version.
That's the short version.
I think we spent a whole episode discussing that.
Yeah. So we spent an episode of that. So why are we then now wanting to specifically highlight resistance and the resistance that we have to what you're talking about is like, oh, I'm going to transform. I'm going to up level. I'm going to new and exciting things are happening. Why would I feel resistance to that?
So many reasons. Gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you notice, Michelle, as things are happening? Like, what kind of resistance do you feel when you feel these things bubbling up?
What kind of resistance do I feel?
Yeah. What does it feel like to you?
It feels like aversion and distraction. It feels like I'm dismissing the thing that's coming up. And I will say, actually, like, it is one of the ways that I know that something is really important whenever it comes up in life. And I've been through this cycle enough times now to recognize this as a pattern, is that I feel resistance to it. And I know that things that are coming in that repeatedly over a prolonged period of time from a variety of sources, that I feel a very strong resistance and aversion to at first, and then they keep coming up. And then when I start to lean into it, it gets super easy and it's like, boom, it explodes. I know, because that has been the hallmark of every single major up leveling in my work, spiritually especially, that I know that it's going to be big whenever it has those hallmarks. And I'm in one of those right now. Yay. And it's really uncomfortable, but I know, because I've been in this so many times, that this, to answer your question, Kat, it feels like I'm squirming away from it. It feels like there's like physical sensation of like, ooh, like this. And if you're just listening, you can't see me. I'm like cringing and squirming, and my body is like contracting away from it. So there's that sensationally. There's also like a mental avoidance and distraction, where it's Like it kind of has my fascination a little bit, but I keep looking away from it. It feels like immediate dismissal, right? Or, it's in the early stages, not, where I'm at with it right now. But initially, someone will bring it up to me and I'll just be like, oh, no, that's not for me, or that's not my work, or that's not my path. And then someone brings it up again. It's, oh, no, 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 just immediate dismissing of it. And this keeps happening over and over until I start to not dismiss it anymore and I start to be curious about it. On the energetic level, I notice a like sort of an over or a lag time between alignment of the frequency. Like it'll come into my life perhaps years before I'm actually ready to play with it. And it takes a while until it's like, oh, now I'm in a place where I can actually interact with this in an aligned way. And I can actually hear it and I can actually receive this calling and know that it has been calling me for a long time. And it's just been here waiting for me while I've been flopping about in the universe doing whatever it is that I'm doing, usually with a little more grace and intention, but sometimes really just flopping about until I can actually come into alignment with it. And then there's this very strong current of transmission that feels like gravity. So I think that's the trajectory I go through is immediate dismissal, avoidance, and squirminess, and then coming into alignment. And then it's almost like I'm jumping into a really strong current and it's carrying me forward and things are coming up very easily. And it's like everything's falling into place and falling into my lap.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you? What does it feel like for you?
I think some of those same things, for sure. I think that there's I think like a fear of loss that's there, like having to relinquish identity, maybe like a space of voidness, of like transitionary, the unknown of like letting other things go and realizing that like feeling space. I mean, when you're talking about being in this space of like kind of like moving into more comfort and active initiation, but I know that you've also recently had a lot of space of like space, like, not moving forward on things and not moving forward on projects and not creating things that you think that you, like wondering why am I not doing the thing or the things that I have been doing that have felt like this is who I am. And now I'm sort of like, there's this space there, like the preparation for the thing that's coming in. And if there's like this space, which can be uncomfortable in life because maybe things are falling away, maybe people are falling away, maybe certain concepts of self are falling away, so that there is enough space for this new thing to come in.
I'm speechless because that just pointed out to me something that had not even crossed my mind. That's fascinating. Actually, I'm having like a really interesting moment with this right now. You're getting real time, like Michelle's having a spiritual epiphany on camera experience right now. Okay, so yes, I'm going to say yes, big light bulb moment, because when you're in it, like you kind of can't see it that way. And I will say, okay, so the initiation cycle that I'm in right now, I have just recently said yes to it and just recently started to move in the direction of jumping into the current. And it crossed my mind a couple of days ago, something about, like, the timing around my move and the timing around like sloughing off a lot of the like old crap around my, my old house and dealing with my property manager and everything. Like that has freed up energy to make me available to jump into this thing. But I hadn't put together yet the void experience that I've been in for a couple of years, also creating space for that. So thank you. That's helpful. Yeah, we'll go with that too. Thanks, Kat.
No problem. Context.
Right.
So you can imagine, those things are uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to let things go. It's uncomfortable to sit in the void. It's uncomfortable to not know. And we're taught that you should know all the time. And once you decide on something, that's it. And that's who you are. And we've been so trained. I just think of how many times when you were a little kid that somebody was like, what are you going to be or do when you grow up? And so we're very trained in our consciousness that we're going to somehow get to this end result thing that we be or do. And that's it. And we're going to do that until, the end. And yes, there's stuff that will be consistent, but there are radical changes that happen even within context of doing, especially something like healing work or, coaching or spiritual work or any of these things. Like we can go through incredible transformations of the who, what beingness that we are, the way that we engage with the world, what we present, what we teach, what we create, can go through radical transformations. And it is in exact opposition to what we were taught the way that life was supposed to go.
And conditioned. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm still sitting with that, like, oh, this is what the last 2 years have been about. Peace.
I love when every once in a while, I can, bring speechlessness to Michelle because it's not very common. It's like,
is that because I talk a lot? Yeah.
You're always on it. Like you're always like 100% like caught up to the moment, and to have an epiphany in the moment, it's pretty exciting.
That is super. Thank you so much. Like I don't know. I feel like I'm good. Like we covered this episode. Check. Like I got nothing else to say. No, but I mean, but the resistance piece, I mean, like that's super real though, right? It's like, and one of the pieces, I mean, I'm still mucking through the, Kat, like you mentioned, the loss of self and like loss of identity around this. And I was actually just talking with one of my alchemy apprentices the other day about something very related around and I wrote an article about this too. If you're on my newsletter, you saw it already. If not, then get on it and you'll see it too. It's about like magical identity in this 3D world. And the same can be applied within, magical initiations into further layers of our magical identity within already being in the magical world, right? Like it's almost like this emerging into a new reality that all of a sudden you're like starting from zero all over again, right? It's like all of a sudden it's this reset on all of the constructs that you had put together in terms of like, maybe I don't know, whatever. I'll just throw some examples in here of like what I'm currently contemplating, right? Of like, if I'm stepping into this new iteration of my work and my practice, like, is it invalidating everything that I've already done? Is it invalidating my natural skills and talent as a healer and a psychic? Is it invalidating all of the, almost 20 years that I have now in terms of shamanic practice and study? And is it invalidating the courses that I've put together and the trainings I've put together, right? Like that is also part of right now where I'm looking at from this fear of loss place. And I know that, it's part of this emerging into a new world, right? Like getting to start from zero.
Right. Well, I have to stop you because I'm also having like a very strange experience right now. Like as you're talking about this, oh my God, like, cause as you're talking about this, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense because I'm also having like, right at this exact time, like I'm actively making, an organizational chart that's like putting me at the like CEO position of like all of these people and all of these things happening and, business plans and like highly structured business that is beyond me, right? It's beyond just what I've been doing, which although I've had collaborations with other practitioners and businesses with other people, like beyond just really me as a practitioner doing my work and teaching and creating and supporting people in that way, and seeing the resistance that I have to that. Like sometimes the anger that I have to that, is this really what I'm being asked to do? Is this really what I'm being called into? Because how much easier is it for me just to continue to do what I do? Because I know how to do what I do. I know what I've been doing. I know how to replicate it. I know how to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm really fucking good at it.
Yeah.
So in some ways, there's this anger of like, why would you be pushing me towards something that I actually am less experienced in, less, there's learning curve. There's things that I maybe am not going to like, and I know that I'm not going to like them. And I'm going to have to grow. Right. And there's a part that's like kicking and screaming about, do I really even want this? Because it's just easier to stay as I am, where I am. And also that witnessing like, oh, okay, like things have been changing, whether I've been wanting them to or not. Like, things have been sort of on the back end of things, have like that energy has been like the focus of energy, like where energy is moving in my life and in my business is moving in this direction. And away from some of the other things that I've been doing. And sometimes in that frustration, in that resistance, I'm like, God, I feel like I'm in a river and I'm, like, well, I have to pick my feet up and be in the river and like let the river take me. And what I really want to do is to like either just get out of the river or somehow figure out how to like, stop myself but that if you stop yourself, you're just going to be like bloodied and bruised by the rocks and like, like it's not going to work. And a little bit of that frustration of feeling like, oh, I'm just caught up in this river and I want to get out and lay on the shore. And yeah. So.
Awesome. Thank you. I think this is the first time we've had like a 2 for epiphany. Thank you all for watching this and listening. This is a very, very special episode indeed, in which Kat and I have both had real-time epiphanies.
Okay. So
what do we do with that?
Well, I think resistance to initiation, a resistance to transformation, right? If we're saying that initiation is this is a part of transformation, part of the transformational process is that this type of growth is going to happen. And there's all of this stuff that goes with it, all of these feelings, all of these thoughts, these, thoughts about who we are and what we've been and how other people are going to perceive us, what other people are going to think. Maybe you've seen, I know sometimes you see this, I've seen this where like all of a sudden somebody changes their title of like who they are. And every once in a while you have a thought of just like, what the fuck? Like they come up with this extraordinary title and, you've known this person for a really long time or something. And you're like, okay, that's interesting. That's an unexpected, interesting space that this person just stepped into. Like they've stepped into something completely different and new, and they've declared it to the world. And you see your own reaction to that, and you realize that other people are also going to do the same thing if you do that a little bit of like,
I don't know if I've actually ever had that thought process. So this might just be you. This might be you.
I mean, I definitely run across stuff, somebody's like, put something out and you've known them for a while and been like, that's interesting. Okay. That's like an unexpected space that this person just completely like shifted and inhabited.
Oh, I've thought about that. I just haven't turned it around to like people are going to think that about me because I think yeah.
Well, I think that comes from, like supporting people, and then as they're, you know, making those declarations, as they're going through those initiations and transformations, and then they're starting to make declarations of like who they are and their work they do and what it's all about, and like seeing also that resistance in people of like, oh my God, am I really putting this out? Am I really talking about this? Am I really like putting this title on myself?
Uh-huh.
And yeah,
So
and I think,
Catherine Bird CEO is going to be is that your
yeah,
declaration?
I mean, I definitely, yeah, I mean, that's going to be a stretch, you know, to put that on the thing, CEO of this or that. I just, yeah, that's definitely going to be a thing. It's probably also going to come with another different title. And yeah, that's, if we can think of a better name besides the CEO, but that's sort of,
Let's bookmark that. Yeah, because
yeah.
I mean, yeah, we can definitely make that a little more fun and, you know, less corporate for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
But okay, so the resistance though, right? Like you know, we're talking about like these different aspects of I want you to tell the story of resistance is fertile, please.
okay.
Because that's your story. It's not
Is there a
mine.
story? I mean, I don't really know the story, but this is something my my partner from years ago used to say, is that instead of resistance is futile, resistance is fertile. And that when we feel resistance, when it comes up, there's something very fertile there for us to look at. Like we're growing into something. There's something that's wanting to be birthed and known when we feel resistance. And that kind of the more resistance you feel, the more possibility is around the corner.
Awesome. Thank you. Because now I want to segue into like the physics of resistance, right? And I should have totally looked up before we got on this episode. I didn't actually think of this until this very moment of like what the unit of measurement. I think it's ohms of resistance is like the physics term. Do you happen to know?
I don't know the I like that maybe it might be the ohms of
I think
resistance.
it's the ohms is the unit of measurement of resistance, right? In terms of like you know, we're measuring resistance as you know, in pressure and in electrical resistance, right? Like there is a unit of measurement. Um, and the more, but if we're looking at it from like the energetic dynamics, like the more resistance you have, the more potential energy and the more charge you're cultivating. So that then when you know, when eventually you're shifting into alignment, if we're looking at resistance, right, like resistance to an initiatory experience or to like this new emergent cycle of power that is coming your way, right? You're building up charge, you're building up potential capacity, you're creating with all the resistance that you have, like that's all potentially available energy. So then as soon as you say okay, or as soon as you pick your feet up out of the river, or as soon as you're like, you've been like this, and then zoop, you come into alignment, all that resistance is going to feel like a very explosive alignment and like catapulting you forward into this path because it's going to become available. You're going to say yes to it. And finally, all that charge that you've been cultivating in your body, in your life, with all the people who have been trying to get this in your field, it's going to just go. And there's going to be a lot of power available there when you're ready for it. So be aware also that, like, you know, resistance does like there is kind of the kickback of it, you know, not in a bad way, but just be ready that as soon as you say yes and as soon as you're
Like a
right,
fucking
it's a
slingshot.
yeah, you're gonna get like catapulted forward. And I mean that is what I have found in my personal experiences. As soon as I stop resisting the thing and I say yes to it, it's just like I just get slingshot um into it, right? Like people are beating down my door asking for the thing that I finally said yes to has
Yeah.
historically been my
This
experience.
is really important because I see this a lot with my clients where there's an enormous amount of resistance to doing a kind of certain kind of work, or saying that they do a certain kind of work, or stepping away from the way that they've been facilitating healing or coaching or whatever, and into a different way. And there's so much fear there because there's a fear of loss of income, loss of clients, loss of social connections, clout, whatever. And then, but to see how consistent it is that people are basically like, oh my God, I was just been waiting for this from you. Like I've been like, this is the next thing I've been wanting and I didn't know how to find it, but I'm already connected to you and I already trust you. And yes, I'm a yes to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have universally found that to be the case whenever I've been in one of these initiation cycles around my work, and I'm fighting it, I'm fighting it, I'm fighting it. It's building up pressure. And then as soon as I say yes, it's like bam, 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 immediately positive
Yeah.
reinforcement of people coming into my field, asking for the thing, wanting to pay me for the thing. And and again, it's that stored energy. It's the potential energy of spirits
Mhm.
like been trying to serve you up. Here are people who want this. Here's a way for you to like expand into your connection with your guides and your highest self. Here's a way for you to grow in your service and your power and to be a positive contribution. Here. And then when you say, okay, I'm ready, it's like all the line of people that have been waiting for you that just finally break down the door, you know?
Yeah. Completely. And I see this with my clients all the time. And then they're always like, why did I wait so long? Why was I so scared? Why was I so resistant to just putting this out there? Because it's so positive. And I would say that, what I can also see is even like in my current relationship, like my current relationship is very connected to creations and purpose and making things happen and things in the world and to spiritual development and all of these things. And just deep resistance that I have had to being in this relationship, like at all, like to the point of like being around this person and not wanting to get within like 3 feet of them, in like trying to walk around my house and not be in their field. And then basically trying to get them to go away and being angry at them and like really being angry at them for coming into my life and like stirring up all of this stuff when everything was so stable. And so just known and bringing in all these things that are changes and transformations and initiations and seeing the layers of initiations that are happening in my life almost just like on a regular basis, that are causing me to have to grow um and change. And I think, and even when we first met, it was like card readings were happening and it was like, oh, it's going to be shamanic death and rebirth, like that's the card you keep getting, Kat. Like, okay, great. Awesome.
Super comfortable.
um and that is part of what we do. If you're drawn, I mean, if you're drawn to us, if you somehow ended up on this podcast and you're listening to us blither blather about, like, you're wired towards transformation and change, and initiations is part of it. And um the bigger the initiation, the bigger the resistance, and the more that your fear of annihilation is going to come up, like complete destruction.
I mean, that's super important right there, right? And this is what, I talk about with my alchemy students, and this is something that comes up inevitably whenever we're doing this work, right? We talk about, death, identity death, right? Ego death, whatever you want to call it. And the reality is like, yeah, you are surrendering to this new way of being, and there can only be space made for that through some loss, not in a bad way, not loss as in like, that it's, something wrong or bad, just creating energetic space and freeing up aspects of your identity to grow and shift in this new way to inhabit a new form.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, this is just how it works, right? This is how transformation works. And death, purification, rebirth is the phases of alchemy, right? The 3 phases. And it's, I feel like as much as I teach this to other people and as much as I like, spend time in this cycle, I've gotten more comfortable with it over the years. And again, now I can recognize this has been, this particular cycle that I'm in, I feel like God, I feel like we recorded an episode like around this time last year when I was like, I'm in a big initiation cycle, and it was about something else. And, it happens, it keeps happening. And it doesn't mean that those previous initiations are gone. And it doesn't mean that those, my dog is wobbling into the table here. Hi. It doesn't mean that those aspects of yourself are gone forever, or that they weren't valid, or that there's anything wrong with that aspect of you, or that you don't get to keep it moving forward. It's just, as we, going back to what you said, Kat, like, there is no arrival, there's no destination, especially on this path. We are constantly in this process of coming closer and closer to our truest selves, and into embodying whatever the next iteration of that is, as we are anchoring in frequencies for transformation and change through our physical bodies here on the planet. That means that our physical lives are going to be on some level kind of constantly disrupted throughout our lifetime. If that's what we're here to do, we're not going to have a static existence.
Mm-hmm. And it's I don't know, it's sometimes I mean, it's a little bit humorous because so many people are, called to this path, and they're like, okay, I'm going to be a healer. I'm going to heal myself. I'm going to start this spiritual practices. And then they're like, oh no. And I think Michelle said it not long ago, was that, what is it? The spiritual path has really great marketing team. It's a really great marketing team. It makes you like think that it's all going to be super cute. And it's not all super cute at all. It's sometimes just the like sobbingly painful, void experience of like not cute. And you will be not cute inside of it. You will be confused and lost and angry, and maybe going through things that you thought that being spiritual would give you a get out of jail free card, that oh, if I do all these things and these practices, and I meditate, and I like do all this healing work, like somehow I'm going to avoid pain and discomfort, loss, grief, radical change, unexpected consequences. And that's not the case. And sometimes we have to see the things that are the most painful experiences of our life can be the most incredible transformative initiations that we will ever go through.
Yeah.
So
not all initiation is painful. Let's say
no,
that too.
it's not. Sometimes it's just a super amazing, joyful, blissful thing.
Or it's uncomfortable without being traumatic, right? So there's like different layers of this too. So we're not like trying to turn you off from spiritual initiation. It's just sort of a like,
well, and it can be really uncomfortable and really hard, and you can not be in trauma about it. And I think that's what we want to help you to be with, that it's even if it's uncomfortable, even if you're going through something and you're like, wow, this was unexpected, and this is challenging every part of my being, and you're not doing it wrong. Like you didn't,
like normalizing.
you didn't spiritual wrong because you're struggling with your transformation.
Right. Yeah. But it's like, we want to normalize the resistance aspect of it, and the discomfort of it. And again, like this, I'm coming up on like my, I don't know, almost 20 years. I think next year is my 20-year anniversary of when I started studying and practicing shamanism. And so it's, it is totally normal to be flopping about a little bit in the experience, and having the feeling like you're getting the beat down from the spiritual river, just kind of carrying you along, and you're just trying to not drown. Right. And so it is normal. And with all of it, we get to have a greater sense of humor about it, and get to, again, with repetition, get to recognize the cycles that are happening. I think this time, like, I've recognized it. I want to say faster, but I don't think that's true, because this initiation cycle has been going on for like 6 years now. I don't know. Honestly, I'll have to think about it more. But it's like, at least I have a sense of humor, and I haven't like burst into tears about it yet to this point. So that's better. But yeah, normalizing the uncomfortable aspects of initiations, and knowing that you're in good company, because we're here too.
Yeah, all the time. So, and even yesterday I was on a call with a client that I've been working with probably for about, I don't know, 6 years or so. And, as we were looking at kind of planning out some of her, next year of things that she's doing and offering and creating, and she's like, well, but I know that I have this. She's been on a deep study and many initiations for being a high priestess, and the high priestess initiation is happening soon, and it's like 5 years. So she's like, I know that I need to give more space around this particular initiation, because I know I can already feel things are changing and I'm changing, and I don't know what's going to be next and how I'm going to, and it also is giving her this beautiful reflection point of like, wow, look how far I've come. Like, this is like unbelievable how far that I've come in, 5 years, 6 years. Like, this is insane. So if stuff's happening, sometimes you have to give yourself a little bit more space.
Yes. Awesome.
Yeah.
More
space, more time, more sleep, more rest, more aloneness, more nature, all the things we always tell you to do those.
Right. Yeah. And quiet reflection, I don't know, and have a sense of humor about it. Take breaks from it, right? Like, give yourself some breathing room. And like, I've also found it interesting and helpful to sort of like dunk yourself back in your old reality, and every now and then just to prove to yourself that it doesn't fit anymore, or that you're outgrowing it. Just for like a, kind of a fun basis of comparison of like, oh yeah, actually, like there is, there are still aspects of that that are really great, and also there is more room in my experience for this new thing. So it's almost like, reinforcing. Hi. She's like laying down, pushing the table to the side, reinforcing to yourself that you are moving, that you are in this dynamic experience, right? So just like go back and prove to yourself, oh, the old thing doesn't fit quite in the same way anymore. I'm a different person now.
Great.
Cool. Yay. Resistance is fertile.
Mm-hmm.
Plant seeds in your resistance, and then when you're ready to say yes, just be prepared for that catapulting forward.
Yeah.
Cool.
You feel good?
Yeah. So
all right.
Please follow and like us and our podcast. You can
Please
find us
like
on.
us.
Please like us. We just, yeah, I don't know.
iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, all the places, all the time. And share with your friends if you feel like they need a little bit of this information. And you can always reach out to us through our websites. I'm at katherinebird.com. And right now I'm in open your channel time. So working with channeling and mediumship, learning the skills, the tools, the practices, the energy work that is necessary to do this work in a safe, effective, super easy way.
Awesome. And you can find me at joyofenergy.com. And I just started another I Am Alchemy course. So that is currently closed until next year, 2023. So if you want to be on the waiting list, you can do that. But I am taking one-on-one clients. So if you're wanting to drop into your own initiation cycles and you want support in terms of how to integrate and learn from your initiation experiences so that you can anchor in whatever those frequencies are that are coming into your life, I got you. So joyofenergy.com, and let's play with magic.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.